No more, it is Joinen, and I am about to spend the next week reading Reddit's worst confessions. But I don't think all of them are that bad. I reckon some of them are based. So every day for the next week, we are going to read some of the most upvoted Reddit confessions over the past year. We're going to keep a running tally of what we think is the most diabolical and also the most based. Because I think some of them, chaotic good, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because it's a confession doesn't mean it's bad. But also, I'm sure some of them are. So we're going to decide together. That's what we're doing here. Let's start with the first one. I do literally nothing at work for 7 months now and nobody has noticed. My day is pretty boring. I get to work, I open my PC and I stare at my screen for 8 hours straight. Most days I have absolutely nothing to do, and the days there's some work, it takes at most a couple of hours of my time. I work in an open space, but nobody has noticed, so I guess I'm really good at seeming busy. My bosses respect me and even thank me for my work. I don't know for how long I will be able to keep going, but I'm gonna exploit the situation the best I can. It's also my first job and an entry role without much room for progress. I've got some opinions. What do you guys think? Is this diabolical or is this based? I guess we don't have too many details. It's quite light on the details. Mid which way? I guess both. Based, not enough details. B tier, honestly, like do your work, but also real. I think they're saying they actually don't have much work to do. Or are they saying they actually do have work? I think there's just not many details. I wonder if there's more details in the comments somewhere. It doesn't seem like it. Yeah, you see, there's the thing, but only if the job isn't important. I reckon, just morally speaking, whether this is diabolical or based, I reckon it comes down to what's the company? What's the work being done, you know? Imagine you're like working for a company and they're like curing cancer, you know? This is not based. Put some more work in, right? But if it's an ethically questionable company and furthering them is, you know, worsening the state of the world or something like that, then we're absolutely, it's saying based. I reckon it comes down to what is the work that's actually being done. So I'm not sure. This one has to be fake. That is such a low bar for determining something to be fake. Someone says they don't work at work. That's gonna be like so many people. What about it would make you think it's fake? Next one is a short one as well. I intentionally ask women well above the legal age limit, alcohol, to show me their ID. I work as a cashier at a grocery store. Whenever a middle-aged woman who clearly looks older than 21 purchases alcohol from me, I intentionally ask them to show me their ID. I do this because somewhere deep down, I feel that if I ask them for their ID, it creates an impression that they look far younger than they are. I do this every chance I get, regardless of how busy the line is, in hopes of making them feel younger and possibly happier. Okay, they're saying middle-aged. I guess this person is like making the assumption that the person is old enough to want to appear younger. This one seems question. It's sweet. I think it's pretty based. I don't think I'm willing to put it down as like this one is gonna be the most based because it's pretty mild. I would say it's mild. It's nice. I guess it's the point of a front runner. We do need a front runner. So based, asking middle-aged women for ID. Current most based. Let's put it down here. I don't think we have a diabolical one yet. It's not enough. Out of 2, we can say, all right, that one's feeling slightly based. Based enough. We've got a slightly longer one this time. Our elf on the shelf is dead forever, and I'm so relieved. Last year, my son, then 9, decided elf on the shelf was not real when he had his friend over. Touched it, picked it up, threw it on the floor, and later electrical tape to the robot vacuum. My youngest was watching and laughed, and I thought, finally, nobody believes in this annoying elf anymore. So, Pinecone, the elf, disappeared after that. This December, my youngest child asked if elf on the shelf was coming back, and I told her no. Pretty sure her brother had killed him forever. And I don't even feel guilty because the holiday season is so much less stressful without it. To all parents, do not get sucked into getting an elf on the shelf. They will be the bane of your existence for years to come. Oh, there's an edit. Apparently, lots of people have strong feelings about the elf. The kids and I had an awesome holiday. We went to Christmas festivals and school programs. They were in a holiday play. We made Christmas cookies and all of the typical holiday joy, and not once did we miss the stupid elf. If the elf works for your family, that's great. And I mean that sincerely. If you're hanging on by a thread and your cup is empty and one more thing to remember is the last thing you want to do, then be kind to yourself. Your kids should rather spend time with a less stressed parent than to have all this extra stuff. Diabolical? You guys are saying diabolical? You know, the kids didn't seem that bothered by it. I think the devil is in the details here. Based, this is peak cinema. I think the fact that the kids aren't bothered about it makes it based. I don't think it's diabolical. I think if he had like staged a scene where the elf dies and, you know, put some like fake blood on the ground, you know, really hammed it up, then I think we're absolutely talking diabolical. But this one, Kids seem fine. They didn't seem that bothered. I think it's fine. Is it more based than asking middle-aged women for ID? The thing is, it's gonna happen anyway at some point, right? It's like, you gotta rip that band-aid off at some point. And this one, he just found the right moment. I think what makes it based is everyone else being on board with it. Yeah. Is it more based than asking middle-aged women for ID? That's the question I'm answering. No, yes. We're getting yeses, no's, yes. I think ultimately I'm gonna have to decide. Yes, only because it's funnier. It is funnier. It's a very lighthearted confession. Middle ground, flip a coin. Way more understandable, relatable. Funnier, but could have gone badly. It's true, it could have gone badly, but I guess they know their kids. You know what? I think if it's a toss-up, we'll go for the newer one. That way we're changing our current front runner more often. So I'm gonna say Elf on the Shelf died. Next, confession. These are so short. I kind of figured people would have very long confessions spilling out their heart. I'm the guy that used to put extra McNuggets in your order. If you ordered 4, I'd still put 4. If you ordered 6, I'd put 8. If you ordered 10 nuggets, I'd put 13. If you ordered 20, I wouldn't even count. I'd straight up fill the box to the brim since no manager would ever notice that. Forgot to mention the most important part. Used to shove so much fries into the box while every other employee used to ration. Used to put so much more to the point where the box would start tearing on the side. Tearing on the side, I think you're pushing it. I think you're quite literally pushing it. But giving people extra nuggets, that's based. Based. Chat likes this one. We like this one. This one is based. Check this comment out. I did the same once upon a time, but then someone complained that they got too many nuggets and I got in trouble for it. That is wild. I reckon it's based. It's gonna take the cake. The last one, we're kind of debating. This one is just unanimously based. Extra nugs. Nug thug. Extra nugs. But the nug thug is extra based. Why would you complain for free extra nuggets? My mind automatically goes to, oh, if you're like counting calories or something. But I think if you're counting calories and you clearly counted the nuggets, you can just not eat. I don't know. I wouldn't complain. You just don't eat. Somebody wants your extra nuggets. They're nuggets. All right, next post. I used to reprice steaks at my work when I was younger. When I was 18, I worked at Piggly Wiggly grocery store. After the meat department guys went home at like 3 p.m., it was part of my job to restock meat on the sales floor throughout the night. At the time, my mum worked nights and my stepdad would always be passed out drunk when I got home. So there would never be dinner for my brother and me. I'd always bring him home whatever he wanted, usually junk food like Hot Pockets, chips, etc. And I went through a huge steak phase. My family was kind of poor, so we almost never got steak. It felt fancy to me. So I would go find the thickest steak we had in the cooler and change the sticker price. So instead of it being like $11.99 per pound, it was $1.99 per pound, making it exceptionally cheaper. Well, yeah. I did this probably twice a week for over a year and was never caught. Welcome to Piggly Wiggly. How can we help you? Piggly Wiggly, who named that? It screamed British right from the start. Ain't no way you're finding Piggly Wiggly grocery store or anywhere else. I would say based. Yeah, I'm not gonna call it diabolical. I don't think it's as based as Nug Thug. It's an American supermarket chain. Piggly Wiggly. It's American. If it's not a small business, I say based. Yeah, there's a difference there. Less based. It's less based. I mean, I think either way, we're technically stealing from someone. I think the thing is usually, I mean, I don't know. It depends. Are we judging Piggly Wiggly based compared to whatever the other supermarket chain was? Not as based. It doesn't take the cake. That's all we'll say. Oh, the steak, as it were. We haven't had a single, like, proper diabolical. Met a random woman at a large corporate function and she confessed. I was recently at a large corporate party with many people I didn't know from different offices around the country. I was making small talk with the wife of someone I didn't know and she started making humorous complaints about her husband. Nothing serious, typical middle-aged marriage jokes. We're laughing and says, we will probably never meet again. So can I tell you something I need to get off my chest? I say sure, and she confesses that she had a years-long affair that ended about 2 years ago. I smile and say that's not uncommon and not so bad. Well, she then gets very serious and says that's not the bad part. Oh, okay. He recently died of cancer and so she wanted to see him before he died, but she couldn't. Her husband actually knew about the affair, but his wife never did. She was on the verge of tears saying she couldn't even go to the funeral, but she did go to his grave afterwards. She couldn't talk to her husband about it. She couldn't talk to anyone. I wanted to ask her more questions, but she stopped me. She got herself together and left to join her husband. But before the evening ended, she talked to me again with other people around. Big smile on her face saying, what a great fun conversation we had. She asked to exchange numbers, which we did. She started texting me 2 days later, giving me a bit more details about the affair, explaining that she really loved the guy and missed him terribly, and then told me that her marriage was miserable and that she believes her husband is really gay. Holy moly. This guy's confession was more like I need to get this off my chest because it was really someone else's confession. We're getting like a secondhand confession. If we're taking it from the point of view of the guy, I don't know, neither here nor there. Her confession though, that's diabolical. Based? Based? I got lost halfway through. There was a couple of confusing details there. That is a lot to unpack. It's diabolical from the woman. No, the details of the marriage, but it sounds diabolical. Yeah, based on what we've heard. Okay, but based? If someone is saying based, explain to me the based behavior here. I'd say diabolical. I don't know. Also, how the woman decided to exchange phone numbers because she needed her own therapist. Yeah, if you're unhappy in a marriage, go to therapy or get a divorce. Don't cheat. Yeah. Also, exchanging numbers with a random guy. I think if you want someone to talk to about it, speak to a therapist about it. I'm joking, Joinen. Okay. All right, look, it can be hard to pick up tone in a YouTube chat message. That one's pretty diabolical. I think that means we can add a front runner. Again, it's from the point of view of her. That's what's diabolical. It's not like this guy's confession is that diabolical. He's just sort of relaying what was said. Diabolical. Cheating woman. I'm joking. I do not think it's all right, Nicole. We got it. Let the record show Nicole does not think cheating is cool. I carry pumpkin seeds in my pocket and plant them everywhere I go. I've been doing this for 20 years. There's no reason that I do this other than I find it funny. I hear whispers. I don't know how a pumpkin grew here, lol. I never run out of seeds. I got pumpkin patches across the country. Till next time, lend a hand, leave a smile. Already based. This guy is absolutely based. This is diabolical, but it's kind of based. You know what I'm saying? Out of all of the based ones we've had so far, this one is diabolical. It sounds fake. It does sound fake. I don't know if I believe it. The most based? This is most based. I don't know if it beats extra nuts. I'm surprised that just planting them allows them to grow. Yeah. Are pumpkins like super hardy? Do they grow easily? I don't think it's beating out anything, but one to think about. All right, let's do one more for today. I, 20-year-old male, have been hiding tens of thousands from my parents for years. At the start of high school, I was pretty broke, as many high school kids were. To gain more freedom, I worked hard to start my career as a 3D artist. And I was making a couple hundred every few weeks at best during high school. Even with how little I made compared to how hard I worked, my mom and stepdad would pressure me to chip in for the groceries and mortgage payments. Keep in mind, we aren't poor or anything. We're middle class, and they just wanted more financial freedom for themselves so they can consistently go on luxury vacations. I also have a few siblings, now in higher years of high school, who they also do the bare minimum for. Not bad enough to where it's child neglect, but definitely not great parenting considering none of us could focus on our studies while having to work. The creative industry is difficult and unforgiving, and I put blood, sweat, and tears into my work to get where I am at this age. I'm not going to let them pressure me into making any big contributions to their finances so they can keep going on excessive vacationing sprees. Only me and my girlfriend know how much I really make. I've been saving tens of thousands of dollars without anyone else around me knowing. One day they'll find out how much I have. For now, I will bide my time and take advantage of as little financial burden as possible. Once they do, I'll simply move out and be done with them. Edit. Thanks for the advice and comments, everyone. Just to clarify, I do of course take care of my own expenses and my siblings, since I wouldn't want them to be overburdened like I was. I'm not pitching into the household bills because they don't deserve it. They are very, very much fully capable of handling everything comfortably if they just tone down their luxurious lifestyle, and I would just be reinforcing their irresponsible behavior by helping more. Everybody in chat saying based. I think again, it's always a details thing. It sounds based in this scenario. It probably is. I think it's quite common for board to pitch in if you live at home working. If they're in high school, I think that's extreme. Outside of high school, especially if you're working full time, it's a kind of a regular thing to pitch in a little bit for living at a house. But it doesn't sound like just a normal, reasonable scenario. I would say based. Yeah, I didn't think it beats the nugs. I think the nugs is just short and sweet, and it's simple. It's graspable. We don't need more details. It's got all the details it needs. All right, well, that's the current standings for today. Let's see if they can change tomorrow. Namoy, and welcome to day 2 of the Reddit confessions. Let's get straight into it. I purposefully made a girl fail a test in elementary school. I believe it was either 3rd or 4th grade. I kept noticing this girl would cheat off me and get the exact same score as me on every quiz or test. So I came up with a plan to make her fail a test. I purposefully chose wrong answers on a multiple choice test, making sure she could see what I put. I put a small dot on the answer I actually thought was correct. Then I acted like I was done, waited for her to go turn her test in. I quickly erased all my answers, changed the ones who I dotted earlier. She came back to our table, and I could tell she was horrified when she saw me doing what I was doing. Long story short, she ended up failing the test, and I got like 80 something on it. I sort of dropped it in too because I made sure to ask her how she did. I've only told a few people this story. Only person told me it was kind of psychopathic, so I felt kind of bad. Absolutely not. But I just thought I was teaching a lesson or whatever, I guess. I'm pretty sure it worked at least a little because she stopped cheating off me. Savage? Nah. That is based. I think that is absolutely based. I reckon that's more based than the extra nugs. And I'm not scared to say it. Cheating test. I reckon that takes the cake. I would do the same, to be honest. Exactly. You don't owe them anything. They're cheating off you. Why not? That's absolutely fair. It's called teaching a brutal lesson in honesty and minding your own business. You didn't know it at the time, but you helped her out more by causing her to fail than you ever would have by continuing to ignore her cheating off you. Exactly. Helped her out. One test in 3rd or 4th grade. Also, so inconsequential. That is a perfect time to learn the lesson. It doesn't really matter. I think extra nugs. I reckon this is based. I reckon that is some forward thinking for a 3rd or 4th grade. Teaching someone a good lesson, not to cheat on a test. More based than extra nugs? That's just how I'm calling it. I don't feel bad. All right, next one. I've intentionally not cleaned our house for the past year. My husband claims to be a germaphobe, but lives like a slob. We separated, but never officially divorced in 2020. I truly loved living alone with my pets, but I'm admittedly not the best housekeeper. Laundry is always piled up and dishes don't get washed until I can actually fill the dishwasher. I don't sweep/mop as often as I should, but will make a generous effort if I'm expecting company. So back in 2022, we reconnected and rekindled our relationship and decided to move back in together. His OCD, which I have recently learned to call it, is extremely frustrating. He must wash or sanitize his hands after touching anything that's been on the floor, money, his wallet, etc. I am required to do the same. Any piece of clothing that has been worn outside of the bedroom, i.e. his safe space, even if only for an hour, has to go immediately in the laundry. He hasn't had a legit job in over a year. Some under-the-table work for a while, started 2 different server jobs, was fired within weeks. I work full-time and pay at least 90% of the bills. This was still the case before we split. So for the past year, I've decided that if he is going to be such a I'm sure that stands for something. I'm not gonna do the housework. Guys, our house is disgraceful, and I'd be mortified if anyone came to visit. The floors haven't been cleaned in months. The garbage is overflowing before it gets taken out. Last week, we got a notice in the mail about our unkept lawn. I cave in and clean the bathroom when he leaves skid marks on the toilet, or when the sink or shower starts looking gross, but I legitimately can't tell if he just doesn't notice these things, doesn't care, or just knows that eventually I'll take care of them so he won't have to. Okay. I think there is teaching a lesson, and then there is the fact that you have to live like that. Like, you can try teach him a lesson, but you also have to live like that. It's partly on him, sure. Obviously, she's trying to say, like, he needs to pick up some slack, but, like, at what cost? Why did they get back? I assume other parts of the relationship are better than whatever that situation is. OCD doesn't always have to correlate with cleanliness. Well, it seems like in this case, it certainly doesn't. I don't understand why not just have a discussion? It seems so passive-aggressive to just let the house get into an absolute shambles rather than just talking about it. Just maybe sit down and be like, hey, maybe we should keep the house a bit tidier. I don't know if you've noticed, we're living in a sty. I think this one's kind of diabolical. I reckon this is just like, what in the lack of communication is this? Like, just sit down and talk for real? That's what I'm saying. Leave your husband? I don't know. I think it deserves a conversation. I actually think this is diabolical. I don't know if I'm just getting trigger happy with the front runners here. I'm calling this one diabolical. The last one was like a bit of a weird one anyway, because it wasn't actually the guy who said it. It was like a secondhand story. Clean the house and just please talk about it. I'm not saying she needs to clean the house. I'm not saying anyone needs to clean that. I'm saying you two, both of you, need to clean the house and just talk about it. Just talk about it. I'm calling that one diabolical. Like, the sheer levels of passive aggressive to be like, I'm just going to live like this. I'm going to live in a tip just so that I can send a message. Clearly, he's not getting the message. I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay. In the 2nd grade, 2 women with clipboards sat in our classroom for a week just to observe. They were there specifically to observe observe me. Okay. Aisle 32, female. Never forget the time 2 grown women were introduced to our class as observers for the week. They'll be in the back watching me teach for a few days. Oh, you're the teacher. Okay. I thought this was back when you were a student. In order for them to do their jobs properly, please ignore them. Act like they're not here. They sat silently in the back taking notes on their respective clipboards for an hour or so each day. On that Friday, my teacher keeps me back during recess. Okay, wait, hold on. What? She is a student. Hold on. What did I read? I feel like I've read something wrong and it confused me. I'll never forget the time 2 grown women were introduced to our class observers for the week. They'll be in the back watching me teach for a few days. Oh, this is a quote from the teacher. Holy moly. I don't know. I did not understand what they were on about. Okay, that's a quote from the teacher. They'll be in the back watching me teach for a few days. In order for them to do their job properly, please ignore them. Act like they're not here. That's what the teacher said. It was a student. They sat silently in the back taking notes on their respective clipboards for an hour or so each day. On that Friday, my teacher keeps me back during recess, telling me the 2 women want to chat / ask me some questions. I was then placed in a chair directly facing them, with my teacher and her aide standing off to the side a few steps behind the duo. Something was up. They then proceed to tell me delicately why they're here. They go on to explain that my teacher knows I'm a good student, and so my recent failing test grades don't make sense. They then show examples of me spelling the same words or doing the same math accurately on previous tests / assignments, yet completely wrong with recent ones. Have you been failing these tests on purpose? This was the first time I experienced that heart beating out of my chest type feeling. For one, it was true. I was faking it. Am I wrong? This feels like a My Animated Story video. I feel like this is the voiceover for a My Animated Story movie. On top of that, they seemed very serious. Scary serious. Especially to my 8-year-old self. I, shamefully, admitted that yes, I had been. And then they asked, why? Well, that answer, the truth, led to my first non-parental authoritative scolding on memory. Dun dun dun! Second gasp. Simply, I did it because I was jealous of the kid who seemingly got to have a second recess. There was a group of 20 or so students across the 6 second grade classrooms who got pulled each week for roughly half the day. One day I saw them playing outside from inside the classroom. They appeared to be having so much fun, and I wanted in on the fun. So I asked one of them how they got put into the group and was told, because I'm bad at spelling and math. My 2 strongest subjects. What am I ever to do? Suffering from success. Dumb myself down, of course. To become one of them, I had to act like them, think like them, test like them. Jeez, the drama in the writing of this one. After our little interview sesh, my failed attempt at manipulation, whatever you want to call it, was never discussed of again. My parents never questioned me about it. To this day, I don't know what they know / were told, if anything at all. My peers never knew about it, and I never told a soul. Those women scared the living daylights out of me. Okay, I'm just gonna summarize here. This person wanted an extra recess, so they purposefully did bad on a test. But I appreciate the storytelling. Most of these could use a little bit more detail. They gloss over all the details. This one was stretched out a little bit. Not diabolical, they're a little kid. It's not diabolical. It's not. If anything, it's based. I'm not gonna say it's most based, but it's certainly not diabolical. It makes sense. Why so many adults for one kid though? That's what's weird about it. I don't understand why the teacher couldn't just ask. Why did there have to be like 4 adults? Not anything really. Bit of a non-story. The best part about it was the storytelling itself. For extra recess, what are we saying? I feel like that's reasonable. That's fair. I'd do that. I'd live for this drama. Do you live in some kind of spelling-based dictatorship? I noticed your spelling got bad. That is bad. Your spelling needs to be better. What happened to your spelling? Let's move on to the next one. That one does not win any awards. I stole from a museum as a child, and I don't mean from the gift shop. Oh no. When I was a child, around 7 or 8, I went on a school trip to a museum that had an ancient Egypt, I said it again. An ancient Egypt exhibit running. The museum staff allowed the class to look at to look at some old relics, passing them around in a circle. I remember looking at this little greeny blue colored figurine of a goddess with a hippo head. I really liked it. Without a second thought, I put it in my pocket and took it home with me. Easy. I sat at home playing with it, not really understanding the gravity of what I had done. Then we had a big assembly at the school. The museum were looking for this figurine as it was not a replica. I don't know why I can't talk today. The museum was looking for this figurine as, the museum were looking for this figurine as it was not a replica, but an actual ancient Egyptian artifact. I remember playing scenarios in my head of how I could give it back without getting caught, but I couldn't see a way out of it. The museum became angrier with the collective museum. The assemblies grew more pressing. Letters went home to all parents. Parents were called in of naughty children who could have possibly done it. I'm gonna guess which kids are capable of such atrocities. Finally, everyone calmed down. They realized they weren't getting it back. I got away with it. The problem is, I'm now 31 and I still have the figurine. I couldn't throw it away. It's thousands of years old. Well, obviously not gonna throw it away. I couldn't give it back. I would have been in unbelievable trouble. If I gave it back now, it would look strange that it turned up after all this time in the same town by someone who went to the same school. You could just give it back anonymously, I suppose. I never told anyone about this figurine. No one else has ever seen it. I have no idea what I'll ever do with it, but that's my confession. Museum thief of an ancient artifact at 7 years old. Final edit, just to let everyone know, thanks to your comments, I did the right thing and returned the figurine to the museum. I did it anonymously from a different city. I hope they receive it. I feel a lot better, thank you. That's what I said. You just return it anonymously, which is exactly what you say on Reddit. I guess it's one of those things, like, even if you did have it, you wouldn't really want to show anyone that you did have it. And so it kind of feels like, what's the point of having it? So yeah, you just return it anonymously. But where was this? If it's, if we're talking, British Museum, it's stolen anyway. You're just giving it back to whoever stole it. What a swipe. Remember that TikTok trend? That is a devious lick. If we're grading the levels of Dev, that is perhaps the most devious lick there is. Ancient artifact, 7 years old, straight in the pocket. It's stolen anyway, is a base to take. Diabolical, based, I don't know. I don't think it's taken the cake for either of them. Good story though. That is a good one, especially after you return it, being able to tell that to people. I'd tell people after the fact. After you return it, why not? Send it back to Egypt. What do you do? What do you do? Put it in a little Ziploc bag, address Egypt. Next one. When nurses were rude, I would make their drinks decaf. I worked at a busy hospital in Metro Atlanta. I was a manager at their coffee buffet bistro. It was a great option to have besides hospital food from a cafeteria. Nurses with a bad attitude about the job they chose to do, okay, show up and start demanding things. They whine. That extra caramel drizzle or extra mocha is an upcharge. I do what I can to resolve it, but it's rarely successful. So I start fulfilling these ridiculous coffee orders with minimal upcharges. I meticulously make the drink to their very snarky request, and I make it with decaf. Don't be bad to service people. Edit, this was 10 years ago and a candid confession. Please stop messaging me as if I'm still making coffee. I'm not even in that industry. So everybody, pull your jocks back out of their wad and chill. Your coffees are safe from me. I am a bit lost with this one. I feel like you could go either way. I think, again, it's hard to say with the details because they're just saying they came in with attitudes. But it also seems like there's a lot of attitude in this post, so I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, I'm gonna say swapping it out with decaf is not like it's that big a deal. It's a bit of a funny thing to do to get back at someone. The other way around, not so much. I don't think that's so funny. But if you're just swapping caffeinated coffee out with decaf, well, it's not that bad. But I just feel like we've got a clash of personalities happening here. And I'm not sure whose side I'm supposed to be on. Because, like, they're saying don't be bad to service people. You're talking about nurses. I'm not sure you're supposed to be bad to nurses either. Like if we're gonna say it based on industry, if they want decaf, add caffeine. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that's funny. I don't think it's funny to add caffeine if someone asks for decaf because you can have all sorts of like heart conditions and stuff. The other way around, I don't think it's that big a deal. It's fairly harmless. I don't know where to land on this one. I really think it comes down to the individual people. It comes down to the actual nurses themselves and to the barista. And are we just getting clashes here or is someone objectively in the wrong? I don't know. You have epilepsy and need to watch your stimulant intake. So you'd be very upset if you ordered a decaf and someone gave you full coffee on purpose. Yeah. I think it's a lot more dangerous to do it that way around. Giving someone decaf instead, I feel like it's fairly harmless. At the worst they're gonna do is want another coffee. At a mid-tier? Well, I feel like most of them are gonna be mid. I disabled my teacher's account to avoid a failing grade. When I was 15, I once intentionally logged into my teacher's workplace 3 times with the wrong password, so her account would get disabled. The goal? To stop her from entering my failing grade. It actually worked, for a little while at least. She couldn't log in and the grade wasn't recorded immediately. But the next day, she stood in front of the whole class and asked who did it. I just sat there in silence, completely terrified. No way was I confessing. Looking back, I kind of laugh at the situation, but also glad I kept my mouth shut. They never found out who did it, and if I had confessed, she probably would have gotten me expelled. I don't think she was gonna get you expelled. That feels like such a mild thing to get expelled for. I think that's pretty base though. I think that's just funny. I think it's funny. I don't think it's as much of a gotcha as doing all the wrong answers on the test, especially because it only worked for a little bit. Like, it's not gonna lock her out for that long. This is a pretty good one. Also, I kind of agree. There's sort of just no reason to fess up to that. Like, what? Like, why would you? Pro hacker. Hacker man. I've dumped over 500 pounds of trash in my girl's apartment dumpster. And I've been doing it since like the 3rd day. I run a small business and have to throw away hundreds of boxes and plastics and such. Every time I go over, I bring a trunk full of trash and dump it on my way in. I worry one day she'll be walking her dog or outside waiting for me to pick her up and that she'll see me, but it hasn't happened yet. If we were to ever break up or move in together, I suppose I'd have to find a new dumpster to dump in. But honestly, I kind of like this dumpster now. As far as dumpsters go, it's kind of my favorite dumpster. I've tried other dumpsters and they just don't cut it for me. This dumpster, top tier. Isn't it technically illegal? It's got to be, right? Especially if it's, what is it? Hundreds of boxes and plastics and such. I don't get it. I think kind of diabolical. I still don't think it's as bad as living in squalor because you don't want to talk to your husband. I'm not going to say based. This one's just weird. It's weird. It's just weird. The fact that he ends it with, but honestly, I kind of like this dumpster now. Like, even if he had to give it up, he would be like unsure. He might still start doing it, even if he was explicitly told not to, because that dumpster's just too good. I don't have anything more to say about that one. Let's come back tomorrow to read some more confessions. No more day 3s. There we go. It's day 3. It is the 3rd day of our journey to find the most diabolical and also the most based Reddit posts. Let's get straight into... I purposefully screwed up someone's car door in a crowded parking lot one day. My wife and I were homeless at the time and living out of my car. We were at the library one day. My wife was inside trying to get some paperwork done and trying to get us any help she could. While I was in the car using my laptop and the library's Wi-Fi to fill out job applications. I was in this crowded parking lot when this SUV pulled into the spot next to me. Really fancy shiny vehicle, though I couldn't tell you make or model. This tall, skinny woman with a Karen haircut, classic, throws her door open and dings the chute out of my car. It shocked me, so I looked up. She climbs out of the car and locks eyes with me, but doesn't say a word. No sorry. No, my bad. Nothing. To be fair, my car was a beater. And if she would have apologized, I would have laughed and said something like, please, you couldn't make this car look any worse if you tried. And that would have been that. But she locked eyes with me and didn't say a single word, but just turned and walked into the library. So I steamed over it for the next 30 minutes. And when my wife came back to the car, I opened my car door for her hard 3 times in quick succession. The SUV's door wasn't looking so pretty and shiny anymore. Wife got in and we drove away. Didn't ask questions. I wish I could say I feel guilty over it, but I don't. Probably one of the most satisfied feelings I've ever had in my life. If something like that ever happened again, I don't think I'd react the same now. I have too much to lose these days. But damn, was that a good feeling when it happened. Edit. Extra context, since all seem to think I'm just misogynistic or something. My car was packed to the brim with everything I owned that I could fit in it. I was wedged in the middle of the back seat with no easy way out because I could only reach the Wi-Fi in the back seat. I'm a big fat guy in a tiny teeny car and it took me 5 minutes to crawl back into the front seat to get ready to leave, lol. It was very obvious I was no threat to this lady, and on top of that, she had this to say. I turned my nose up at you filthy peasant. Oh, sorry. It didn't say she said that. I was about to say what? She had this, I turn my nose up at you filthy peasant attitude as she walked away. She didn't actually say it. She just had that kind of vibe about her. What are we thinking? What are we thinking, chat? Seems fair to me. Diabolical, based. Where is it falling on the spectrum? He's so right. Honestly, it's a little bit of an eye for an eye scenario. She's in the wrong. Yeah, if without even saying sorry, if you just do it, lock eyes, double down, then you're probably going to have to expect it to happen back to you. I'm not gonna give it the based award, though maybe some people would. This person says, I'm not endorsing it, but that does sound pretty satisfying, bro. Maybe she was a nice lady, maybe she was a Karen, but above all, she was rude and had their actions paid for threefold. Love to say it. A little bit of karma in life. It's a bit of a strategy. Yeah, look, it could go both ways. That's why I'm not gonna give it the award for either or. All right, next one. It was me, and I never told anyone about it until now. Dun, dun, dun! So a few years ago, I used to work in a veterinary clinic. Okay. That's a good way to start that. During a routine exam while I was performing a TPR, temperature, pulse, respiration, I felt a gassy fart brewing and knew that it would be one of those silent but deadly ones. I took a quick peek around the back office to make sure that I was alone before letting it out. This particular patient was ready for discharge and I was about to bring the dog out to his owner when the DVM walked past. I thought she had gone to lunch. Stopped abruptly, took one quick sniff of the air and proclaimed, "Oh God!" Feeling panicked, I quickly joined in on her self-proclamation by saying, "I know, right?" Literally the dumbest thing I could have said. This specific provider actually owned the clinic that I was working out of and decided that the dog needed a bath before we could discharge him to the owner. No charge, free bath. Okay. An unnecessary bath. Who do you think she asked to bathe that dog? You? That's the post? That's the post? I'm not seeing the problem here. The dog got a bath. Is that so bad? You had to bathe a dog as payment for a nasty fart. That's fair. I don't see the problem. Unsatisfying ending, 10 out of 10. I need a part 2. I don't think there's any part 2. I don't think there's anything more to it. The vet probably had to bathe the dog. Mid. It's absolutely mid. That's no real confession. Literally, someone made a whole Reddit post to confess that they farted and blamed it on a dog. Nothing was confessed. Well, it's a very minor confession, let's say that. My son is a freshman in high school and frequently oversleeps / misses his bus. Classic. I get so mad at him for this, but I secretly love it. My son is just starting his freshman year in high school this year. He has struggled with obstructive sleep apnea and is fighting with his CPAP machine nightly. This causes him to sleep through his alarms. So he wakes up late and has frequently missed his school bus. When this happens, I am strict with him and tell him that he needs to do better, wearing his CPAP mask at night and to ensure he gets up in time for the bus. I then end up driving him to school most every day. What he doesn't know is that I secretly love it when he misses his bus and I get to drive him to school because we have the best time together. I get to share more of my 80s music with him and we talk about all kinds of stuff during this 15-minute car ride. He just got his learner's permit, so I'm letting him drive the car to school. I know I only have a year left until he has his full license and is driving himself to school. So I secretly hope he oversleeps every day so that I can drive him to school. I keep thinking about the saying, one day it will be the last day your child holds your hand when you go to the store and you won't realize it until much later. I hate getting mad at him for oversleeping, but it's my job as a dad to make sure he's growing up to be accountable and responsible. But I so love our driving time together. Parenthood is tough. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk today. Edit. There's always an edit. I hope this is allowed. First of all, I'm overwhelmed with all the kind and insightful comments. Thanks to you all, I have shared this post with my son, and we now have a new morning routine for these mornings. I do not have an early morning meeting. Whoa, no, hold on. There's a lot of details about sleep apnea. I am going to give my thoughts. Kind of sweet, but you probably should tell his son. Well, that's what he did in the update. It's cute. Yes, sure. I don't understand. Why take the bus then? I don't really get it. What's the purpose of him taking the bus if you're fine to drive him? Just drive it. Both can happen. He can wake up in time and you can drive him. I think it's based. I just don't really get it. I get the niceness of it. I get that it's cute. He wants to spend time with his son. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. And if this had happened once or like, let's say twice, I can imagine that line of thinking and the confession. Actually, I secretly like this. But then you just act on it. You go, okay, I like driving him, I'll just drive him. Look, I took the bus to school. I've done both, but I've taken a lot of buses to school as a kid. And if my parent was like, you know what, I'm just going to drive you instead, I'd be like, thank you. Yes. I don't prefer to take the bus. I'm not taking the bus because I want to. It's a win-win if you just drive it. Obviously, they worked it out in the end. So all's well that ends well. All I'm saying is, I think it would be based. I just don't understand why you kept making him take the bus anyway. And for that reason, I'm not giving it the award. Dad might not have the availability. I guess what we're saying is that then they worked it out so that on the days that he could, I suppose the confession is that he doesn't have the time to drive him, but he secretly likes driving him. Okay, I get it from that angle. And then I understand why it's a confession. Okay. All right. Interesting. Communicate. That's most of these. They always come down to, well, just talk about it. And they did. So cool. Good stuff. Nice, wholesome story. That's what I'll say. Wholesome category. That could be the winner. No award. I still think award is the wrong way to say it because some of these stories, maybe they deserve their own awards. But at the moment, what they're doing is they're competing. And I guess day by day, it gets harder and harder to compete because you're working with the entire backlog here. You're working against the entire backlog. And I still think the cheating test is such a based confession. Wholesome though. It was wholesome. I poured skunk tincture all along my neighbor's windows so they'd be quieter. Does that even make sense? They were so loud all the time. I tried talking to them, telling them my boyfriend and I work at a coffee shop and bakery, and our hours were really early. I bribed them with treats I made. They were constantly opening their windows and playing their music so loud for hours okay. No, that wasn't just me. Playing their music so loud for hours at all hours. It's not just me. Sometimes you guys have a go at me in the comments and you start like diagnosing me with dyslexia and stuff. I'm telling you, reading these different posts, every post is written by a different person and they don't all have equal grammar. Everyone reads differently and it takes a little bit to kind of get the tone where they're coming from with it. So just cut me some slack. Even their conversations were loud. With their windows open, even with mine closed, I would know when their mum was visiting, when their boyfriends weren't texting them back, or when they got their nails done. I did everything to cover it up. Music of my own, fans for white noise, TV, etc. It's like they knew when I was actively trying and stepped up their game to be louder. Eventually, we tried talking to landlords, made noise complaints, everything. They just learned how to be sneaky about being loud. What does that mean? How do you be sneaky about being loud? Eventually, it got spiteful, putting music in the window, screaming and banging on the walls. Our houses weren't connected, but there was maybe a max 10 feet in between with a sidewalk going through. I was getting really stressed out, losing sleep, couldn't relax in my house, was getting sent home from work because I was so tired. It got really bad and I had no idea what to do. Nothing we had done up to this point had worked. When I'd explain my situation, people would come up with funny revenge ideas. None of them stuck, like the skunk tincture did to me. I could feel it in my bones. It would work. So I ordered some on Amazon, and one morning as I left for work, I dumped it all along the side of their house that they keep their windows open on. It smelled so bad, I was worried I was gonna get some on me, and I'd smell bad at work. I didn't. So I guess it's to get them to close their windows. Who comes up with that? Yeah, it's such a strange solution. Fast forward a couple of hours, and I get a notification on our camera that there's motion. It faced in between the two houses along the sidewalk, the place I dumped the tincture. One of the girls walked back and forth up the sidewalk, spraying the rocks under the window with Lysol. I watched it for a while, and more came out. One opened the window and pulled the screen off and wiped it all down. Eventually, a maintenance guy showed up, then the gas company. I kind of started to panic at this point. I felt kind of bad, like maybe I'd gone too far. Well, I don't think they ever figured it out or suspected me. For the next 2 months, those windows stayed shut and I barely heard anything from them. It was so peaceful, I couldn't believe it worked. Okay, what are we thinking? Diabolically based? It's got aspects of both. It's got flavors of both sides. This doesn't really seem real. That's beside the point, I guess. It's a good point. Can you even buy that? Is that something you can even buy? Look, as a previous owner of a ferret of the skunk family, mind you, ferrets are, she did not have scent glands removed. I do know the smell. I am quite familiar with the skunking smell. It's pretty bad. You get used to it. I think skunks might have a more powerful one than ferrets. They should have just reported them for noise violation. They did. It said in the post that they did. I suppose if it gets to that extent and you're just trying absolutely everything, it's fairly crafty. It's not the worst idea. You want a ferret, but you live in stupid Queensland where they're illegal. Yeah, what I will say, ferrets don't skunk anywhere near often enough for it to be an actual concern if you're ever thinking about owning one. It's a fairly infrequent thing. Once every so often. Often if they like get a spook or something, but also sometimes just in the sleep, just like anyone will admit, sometimes a little fart slips out in your sleep. It just happens. Rest in peace, Soot. I hope you're having fun up there. I hope you're skunking the place out. Let them know if you've got noisy neighbors, Soot, up in ferret heaven. Okay, next one is very short. I got drunk and ate a whole salami from the fridge. Yeah. I, 21-year-old female, got wine drunk and I took the salami from the fridge at my boyfriend's dad's house. We live here temporarily and I'm supposed to be on my best behavior. I'm supposed to be. And ate the whole thing in the night. I'm so ashamed. The next morning, my boyfriend's dad asked what happened to the salami and I played dumb, but it's still literally digesting in my stomach. I'm a pig. OMG. Hey, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get a little bit wine drunk and eat the whole salami. Iconic, she should not be ashamed. That's what I'm saying. Honestly, pretty based. That one's based. There is nothing diabolical about getting a little bit drunk and eating the whole salami. This is weird, but amazing. I don't think there's anything weird about it. That's perfectly natural. This is what I'm saying. You should tell him you smashed it. He'd probably be impressed. You tell someone you ate a whole salami, all you're gonna get is a dang. Really? Girls gotta do what a girl's gotta do. Exactly. It do be like that sometimes. That one's just a good story. You once got wine drink and ate a small bag of grated cheese? I mean, that's just implied. What's next? I got chemically attacked last night. Oh no, is this the other side? Is this the other side? Is this the one that got skunked? And while panicking, I did something horrible. My family went on a trip yesterday and I have 5 younger siblings. So we needed 2 hotel rooms. I was bunked with 2 younger siblings while my parents and the others slept in room number 2. I was still on my phone around 3 a.m. when I heard some commotion in the hallway directly outside my room. A few people were arguing, but it was muffled. I couldn't gauge anything. Eventually, I got up so I could call the front desk about it. But then I felt it. My eyes and nose were suddenly under attack. Skunk! Skunk! There was no scent, just pain. I woke up my siblings and I told them we needed to run to the emergency exit for safe air. Halfway there, I had a scary thought. What if the rest of my family are asleep in room number 2? I didn't know what that chemical is. What if it's capable of killing somebody without waking them up? So I ran back, pounded on their door, and took off the emergency exit. I waited outside for my younger siblings, trying to breathe it out, but I got scared because the rest of my family took a long time to escape. It turns out they were awake and heard the commotion in the hall. Then when they heard me pound on their door, they thought I was the attacker. They shouted, "Who's there?" But I didn't hear it because I ran away to try and escape the chemical. What a scenario. Because of me, my family was trapped in there for nearly a minute, including my 3-year-old sister, who's probably traumatized. We think that it was bear spray, basically pepper spray, meaning there won't be any permanent damage to us, but it was still agony at the time. You'd think it was bear spray, so we don't know? Why did I have to pound on that door? My panicking caused so much more pain than necessary, and probably traumatized my sister. Evacuating my little siblings was so scary. I wish I knew the chemical wasn't lethal. Trying to comfort my baby sister was so hard. She was shaking so much she thought she was cold, but she was warm to the touch. She just didn't know how to process how scared she was. Edit. Thank you, everyone. I was expecting some people to tell me I did my best and other people to be mad at me for putting my family in so much danger. The nice things you've said and the fact that every single person seems to agree I did okay is giving me a lot of comfort. I'm still not doing great, but you're making this guilt a lot more bearable. Edit. Number 2. I love Puyo Puyo Tetris. What? Okay. I mean, obviously they did the right thing. They went back. They went back for the family. Sometimes you gotta love Puyo Puyo Tetris. Okay. All right. Going back to the family. That's base. That's a fair enough move. I don't think you did anything wrong. Obviously, you find out later it was all fine. Scaring the kiddos. What could you do? What could you do? Everything's fine. Puyo Puyo Tetris? I'm struggling to understand the connection. I'm trying to piece things together and I'm not exactly sure how they go together, what relation Puyo Puyo Tetris has to this story, but maybe there is one. Maybe there is one and I'm missing it. Either way, I think fair. I think you did the right thing. But honestly, I don't think anything knocked off our 2 best today. I guess, like I said, they're gonna get harder and harder to beat. We'll have to come back tomorrow and try again. Here we are. It is day 4 of trying to find the most diabolical and also the most based Reddit confessions. We are kicking off with a bang. When I worked in retail, I would pretend to forget to scan up to half of the customer's items and never got caught. I was a teenager and hated the job at the terrible company. It's a major chain with $1 billion in net worth, and that's why I didn't care at the time. It was extremely busy, and every single shift for 6 months, I would play dumb and forget to scan anywhere from one item to half the customer's basket. I could see them watching, thinking it must be their lucky day to get the dumb cashier. I was honestly waiting to get caught or for a customer to say something, but to my knowledge, customers never mentioned it to the staff members. And why would they? I would go through my shift pretending to be the Robin Hood of retail in my head. Really, I was just shoplifting by proxy. Okay, so we straight up got the grocery version of the nuggets. Whoever said prediction, the first one is going to be based, I think you're on to something. This one's based. My prediction was right. There we go. We got the prediction. This one is based. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, it's stealing, but it's stealing from the, you know, the multi-billion-dollar companies. Are they missing the money? Are they? Compared to the cheating test, this is hard. We got very different styles here. Very different styles of based. I still think the cheating test one, it's just so good. It's just so good. There's no morally gray. We can say that forgetting to scan the items is based, and yeah, it is. But we do have a little hint of like morally questionable, you know, who knows? Is there someone down the line that is copying the ramifications of this? I don't know. I don't really know how it works. I don't know enough about stealing groceries to understand who's really getting the slap on the wrist for that. The cheating one, I know how that works. That was a simple transaction, and I'm gonna leave that one. I'm calling it. $1 billion company. I'm not saying I care about the $1 billion companies. I'm saying I don't know if there's some innocent person along the way. You know, like, I don't know, the farmers or something. Are they the ones that cop it? I don't know. Due to my own ignorance, I'm gonna leave the cheating test one as the current most based. Next one. I illegally sold my company's office after layoff. I don't know what that means. I'm using a clone account for reasons you can probably guess. Oh, we got a fakey account. This is a real confession. I used to work as a technical program manager at an offshore office for a Fortune 500 US company. Okay, our team had about 30 people at its peak. Designers, software engineers, business analysts, and me, the only TPM. There's so many terms here being thrown out that I'm just gonna breeze past. In 2023, the company laid off the entire office. I was asked to stay on as the last person to handle all the paperwork, return tasks, and equipment because they fully shut things down. After wrapping up my tasks, I waited for months without hearing anything from the company. No emails, no updates, just silence. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I sold all of the office equipment on the black market. The black market? What do you mean, the black market? Nearly 60 MacBook Pros, around 100 ultra sharp monitors, over 100 Herman Millen chairs. Plus desks, TVs, and other office gear. It's been over a year now, and still no word from the company, so I think I'm in the clear. Update. The reason I'm sharing this is because the office management vendor already went into our leased space and cleared everything out, so another company could move in after our lease ended. If I hadn't sold all the equipment beforehand, it would have just been thrown out by the vendor. I feel like my chair, my very chair, could have been a main character in this story, because I bought my chair. I'm not going to say on the black market. Mine's very much the yellow, blue, green, whatever the eBay colors are, that colored market. But I got this at some weird office liquidation bidding thing on eBay, and there was so many other chairs being sold at the same place. Who knows? I'm just saying, maybe a bit of crossover. Joinen trying to cover up buying his chair from the black market. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna come out here with my very own confession. This is my confession story. I'm inputting my own because, hate to say it, I got a bit of a similar story. And I ain't got no alt account. I'm coming out face and all on the record. When I was in high school, we had high school iPads. They were provided to us and we got to use the iPads for school, for some things for school, not much. Just a bit of internet browsing and whatnot for research for essays and stuff. We couldn't actually write our essays on them. We had to still handwrite them, but whatever. We had iPads. When we finished school, they sent out a form saying, give them back or give us, I don't know what it was, $100, $200 or something like that. And then you can keep it. I forgot. I simply forgot. Blame it on undiagnosed ADHD. I don't know. I forgot for quite a while about this form. And sometime later, let's say, long enough, like this guy, it's been over a year now and still no word. At that point, I kind of thought, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Haven't heard anything. I've been graduated. It's not like I go to the school anymore. I'm not coming face to face with whoever sent out this form. And I sold my iPad on the black market. I went to the black market and I sold my iPad. So not only did I not return it and not pay for it, I also sold it. I made the money off that iPad instead of the school. That's my confession. We talking diabolical or based? You guys tell me. Yeah, I went to the black market. It was crazy. There was like organs, all kinds of stuff. Both diabolical and based. Hey, look, it's been many years now. Haven't heard nothing. So I feel like I'm in the clear. Although, putting this out to, I don't know how many thousands of people, could come back to bite me now. Or is there like a, what's it called? What's it called? Where it's like, it's been enough years. You can't condemn me. Statue of limitations? Statue. What's it called? It's a something of, what is it? What's it called? If school's gonna charge to keep it, they should have kept better track. Yeah, like I didn't sell it the next day. I waited around for a while. Statute of limitations. What's a statute? A written law passed by a legislative body. Okay. I bought store chili to a chili cooking contest and won. No one knows I did it, but I won $100 for the contest. I spent $20. But now I live in fear that someone will find out. Should I confess? First questions first. Should they confess? They bought some chili and entered it into a contest. You kinda did? Well, they didn't. Well, yeah, I mean, they confessed like anonymously online, but not to the chili board. You got $80 out of it. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's what I'm hearing. I think what it comes down to, I don't know if this is the correct stance to take, but it just feels like if the competitor's chili isn't better than store-bought, they kind of didn't deserve to win. Honestly, store-bought chili should be the bar that people have to cross in order to win. Do you deserve to win $100 for your homemade chili if it's not better than something you could just buy? I say no. You know what I reckon what this is, my honest advice to this person, should you confess? Maybe. But if you're gonna do it anonymously. Write in a little letter, say, I won't say who I was or when I won it, but at some point, one of your competitions was won by me and I just bought the chili. So step up your game. Don't admit it was you. Just say someone, somewhere. Not the chili board. Yeah, this kind of feels like infinite money glitch. Just reinvest. Take your $80. Buy $80 worth of $20 chili. The homemade chili I have is 100 times better than store-bought. Well, sounds like you should be entering the contest. Making some money. It just really comes down to the competition's not good enough. If you're winning with store-bought, store/whatever, chain-bought, I don't know where you got it from. Also, we saying based or diabolical? I reckon it's pretty based, actually. That's kind of fair. Winning would have come as a shock, but entering store-bought, why not? You know, just keep them on their toes. Sometimes, actually, genuinely interesting to find out. I think it's kind of based. I don't think it wins. It does not pass the cheating test for me. Based for the sillies. And ultimately, why else are we here? Snapped and faked a pregnancy in the worst possible way. Snapped? What could you possibly mean by snapped a pregnancy? Lived with my BF for 4 years. We went back and forth about marriage. He finally proposed, only to back out a few weeks later. Oh, snapped. Sometimes I interpret these sentences in the weirdest ways possible. You snapped and then faked a pregnancy. You didn't snap a pregnancy. All right. Okay. All right. I'm up to speed. We can continue. I broke up with him and moved back to my home state 4,000 miles away. Jeez. 3 months later, he called, missed me, still loved me, regretted canceling our engagement and proposed again. Skeptical at first, we spoke for 7 hours and he convinced me that he was ready to get married. I told him we'd sleep on it. I called him the next day and if he meant it, he'd answer the phone. If not, he wouldn't. He answered and we set a wedding date for 6 weeks. Holy moly. I started to make plans only to have him go radio silent. After 2 weeks, he finally admitted he wasn't ready again and called it off. Jeez! 4 years later, I get a call out of the blue. Oh my gosh. He's in my city on business. Can we get together? What the hell? I'm over him, so why not? Oh, okay. It's that kind of, what the hell? We met for a drink and caught up. You're over him, so why not? Honestly, that is why. You're over him, so don't. So don't. You don't need this guy back in your life. I asked him what happened when he canceled our engagement. He said he always regretted that and wanted to call me to apologize, but was afraid. Despite that, he never stopped loving me. Okay. and canceling was his biggest regret. That and never having a child with me. He'd always wanted a son, not just a child, son specifically. Had to be son. At that moment, something snapped in me, and it wasn't the pregnancy. I told him that I was pregnant when I left him. Oh my gosh. What? That I was that night he called me to propose, but I never wanted him to marry me because of that, so I didn't tell him. These sentences are making so little sense to me. When he finally broke up with me, I decided to put the baby up for adoption. Unfortunately, later that night, I suffered a miscarriage. It was a boy. What on earth kind of a lie is this? What? He left the table visibly ill. I lied to him. There was no pregnancy. I wanted to hurt him as much as he'd hurt me. I never planned to do it. The thought never crossed my mind. I just snapped knowing that being the cause of my losing his son would devastate him. I never saw him again and never told him the truth. What? Update. Thanks for all the comments. I have no idea why I did what I did because it's definitely not my usual MO. But when he said what he said, I can't explain it any other way than I just snapped. Seeing how he reacted, he became physically ill. I knew instantly that what I said devastated him, and in that moment, I truly regretted it. No, you didn't! Because you didn't tell him! But I couldn't take it back. As time passed, I wanted to tell him the truth, but just couldn't. I found out recently that he died! And now I can't! What? What? No way! No way! First of all, diabolical. Yeah, the most diabolical. And it's not close. I'm gonna call this snapped pregnancy. That's insane. Diabolical for sure. Not close to not cleaning a house. The last couple didn't clean their house. This one, I don't know what games they were playing with each other, but that ain't right. Secondly, I hate to say this, I don't know if I believe it. And I don't like to be that guy who's always like, oh, yeah, that happened. Because like, you could say that about literally anything. But the last sentence in the update, it wasn't even in the original post. It was in the update. I found out recently that he died and now I can't. What? That's just an offhand comment. You decided to just update. Oh, also, I guess I should mention this part. I guess I can't say anything now anyway, because he died. Found that out. Either you are crazy, way crazier than those events paint you to be, or it might just not be true. Also, he's dead. Oops. Yeah. Either way, I mean, we can't confirm any of these stories. Like, we can't confirm or deny any of these are true or didn't happen, but it is the most diabolical. This is vital for sure. I think the two store rule of the Morries are, 1, don't propose unless you're ready to get married, and 2, don't lie about being pregnant and having a miscarriage to get back at an ex. I mean, I was hating on the guy because, like, what the heck, man? But way to one-up him. That's crazy. I don't know how we're topping that one. Let's go for another. I knocked a homeless guy unconscious because he tried to take my latte. Nobody will ever know but me. First of all, simply untrue. Because it's been posted to the internet for literally every single person to see. I started a new job just over a year ago. I work 7 to 3 most days. Okay. And I don't own a car, so I usually walk from my apartment to my place of work. The walk to my work is mostly on main streets, but there is only one alleyway that I take to make the walk. What's that? 5? Is that minutes? Is that minutes? Is that feet? 5 feet shorter? Next to this alley is a coffee shop. My city has a noticeable homeless population, and there are some people who hang out along the streets asking for food, money, etc. They are mostly harmless. They don't get in people's way or harass anyone, as far as I know. But there is one guy, we'll call him Bob for simplicity. That is a simple name. Who hangs out outside of coffee shops most days, waiting for someone to buy him a coffee. He's on that coffee grind set. For years, I've been in the habit of treating myself to an iced latte every Friday. So on my first Friday on the job, I naively bought this man a coffee when he asked me to, not realizing the big mistake I had made. I bought him an 8-ounce hot black coffee, the cheapest item on the menu, and myself the usual 20-ounce latte. When I exited the coffee shop, before I could hand Bob his drink, he snatched my drink and walked off before I could blink. And for those of you keeping track at home, that is a very, very brisk walk. From that day on, every time I passed the coffee shop, Bob would catcall me and yell at me to buy him a coffee. Occasionally, he would even follow me down the alley and try to take my belongings. I felt very threatened because that early in the morning, there weren't many people around on the street, which I think is why he did it. When I passed that place in the evening, he usually didn't say anything, as more people were around. Usually, Bob was completely harmless, but he followed me down the alley more than a few times, occasionally trying to take my belongings or my latte. About a month after I started my new job, I bought my latte and walked down the alley. Bob followed me down the alley, only this time he managed to get really close to me and reached out to snatch my latte from my hand. Before I could think, my other hand hit his jaw. The thing is, I'm a pretty big girl, 5'11", 155 pounds. I run and lift weights, so I'm athletic too. I've never hit someone outside of a classroom setting, but I have some martial arts experience, so I know the knockout points and could throw a good punch. I once knocked out a strong 280-pound man on accident during a class, so it was no surprise that this guy went out cold, hitting the side of a building on his way down. I think I saw blood on his face, but I'm not sure because I kept walking. Nobody saw. There were no windows facing the alley, and we were far from the main roads. Since it was just past 6 a.m., not many people were out, even on the main roads. My actions that day were rash, and I am in no way suggesting anyone do something similar because you never know who is watching. What, that's the reason? That said, I haven't seen this guy anywhere near the coffee shop. I highly doubt that I killed him, but I think I scared him off. I'm not sure how crime investigation stuff works, but it's been a year and I've heard nothing. As far as the world knows, I am innocent, and I plan on taking this secret with me to the grave. Well, no, you don't. You just told the entire internet. Oh, we got updates. Update. After reading some comments, I want to respond to some common threads. 1. Since the incident, I have stopped taking the shortcut to work and instead take the main roads. An extra 5 something isn't worth getting robbed. Lol. There is usually at least somebody on the roads who will see if someone tries anything. And the buildings all have windows. I also invested in pepper gel since it's better for temporarily disabling an assailant rather than permanently injuring them. In general, this incident has made me a lot more cautious and aware of my surroundings. So far, an incident like this has not happened again. Update 2! A bunch of people are saying this post is fake because there's no way someone as small as me can knock out a 280-pound man. Have y'all never seen a 5'11", 155-pound woman? I would attach a photo of myself if I could. That would defeat the whole point of an anonymity, but if you want a reference for what I look like, I have a similar body to Katie Ledecky. Okay, wow, this gets deep. Katie Ledecky, an American swimmer. That is the woman in question. Whoa, this is getting out of hand. We're almost the same height and weight, and she is not small. I can bench my body weight. Okay, well, this is getting ridiculous. And deadlift more than double my body weight. Okay. Also, if you know anything about pressure point theory, you know that no amount of muscle or size will protect someone if hit certain points straight on. When I knocked out the 280-pound man, he was standing perfectly still, right in front of me. I was being directed where to hit by my instructor, and I put too much power behind it and knocked him out. It's hard to hit the points correctly in real time unless you have lots of experience. I have 2.5 years of experience. But Bob was a lot more frail than that guy, so he was easy to knock out even if I didn't hit the point on his jaw perfectly. Also, Bob died. Waiting for update, Bob died. Yeah, this feels like the last post. The update makes the post seem so much more fake. The coming back to update and being like, no, you guys don't understand. I absolutely could have knocked him out. I am more than capable of knocking out a homeless man, and I have the stats to back it up. I have the comparisons to American swimmers to back it up. Just imagine Katie Ledecky, the beloved American swimmer, knocking out a homeless man, because I'm sure you could picture that. That's me. That's what I can do. I am not placing this one on either or. I just don't even know what to make of that entire story. I think self-defense is real. Like, yeah, you're allowed to defend yourself if someone's snatching your stuff, but just the over-the-top explanation is wild. Yeah. I still enjoy how her moral is don't hit homeless people because someone might see. That's the issue with it. Honestly, the perfect justification is I was defending myself because someone was trying to take my stuff. My instinct was to turn around and clock him, but someone could see. So you better be careful to not knock out homeless people. Gotta show your stats to prove you're strong to knock out a guy. You gotta have the stats to back up whether you could knock out a homeless man. I don't know. I don't even know with this one. But we did get a new diabolical champ. Let's come back tomorrow and see if something else can knock one of these out of their place. Just like, okay. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Day 5 of our journey to find not only the word. I don't need to introduce it every time. This is still the same video, so let's keep going. First up, napping on the job in a large cardboard box and got away with it for years. I worked for a poorly managed family business when I was younger. One of the closets there had these large empty boxes that were rarely used or moved. One day, I arranged them to make a hidden sleeping berth? And I would disappear for hours, napping in that closet in my hidden space. I smuggled in a pillow and blankets eventually. Almost got caught once because I forgot to mute my phone and someone was in the closet getting supplies. I guess they figured the ding was from another room. OP is secretly a cat. Honestly, I'm a little bit confused. Speaking of, we got Motomy in the background. Managed to sleep on the chair on the job the whole time and nobody even notices. What am I paying you for? Just to look pretty? I feel like the box part is almost irrelevant. Like, does it really matter that they're in a box? I feel like if you just disappear on your job for a while, you know, it could have been in your car, it could have been anywhere. Does it really matter that it was in a cardboard box? It just feels like a fun, novel detail for the story, but the reality is you just disappeared from your job and no one seemed to care. I think that's the real confession, is you just like, it just wasn't at work for a bit. Fire model me? Hey, she tries. Napping on a job for a poorly managed family business. I don't know if we can give that to either of them. Not diabolical enough for it to take the lead. Not based enough. As is the case with most of these, lies somewhere in the middle. I've been pretending to not understand a language I've known for years. Full disclosure, I'm bilingual. I speak both English and Swedish. My mother is an immigrant from Sweden and got her citizenship when I was still in grade school. Though she tried to teach me and my siblings her native language, it didn't really stick well when we were kids. However, I'm an autistic person and I never truly gave up on learning my mother's maiden language. I'd say I've been fluent for about 3 years now, but the issue is I haven't really told my parents about my secret studying nor my mastery. Why? When we visit my mum's family in Sweden during the fall and sometimes winter, I'm dead silent. Why? Speaking only in English to my siblings and father. I can understand everything my relatives say, even the bad things, but I still haven't figured out how to speak without it being a big deal. What? I really should have told my mama, but now I can't tell her without me hiding it being the main issue. I feel like I'll hurt her. So for now, I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it. What? What is the point of keeping it a secret? What is the point? Why? Based. First of all, like, for what purpose? If not to speak with your Swedish family, why put the time and effort into learn Swedish? That feels like a lot of effort for, like, what, just to hear people saying nasty things behind your back? Look, honestly, fine. Let's take the situation for what it is. What's the plan going forward? Now you say, I've started learning, and now over the course of the next few years, start to understand more and more. Or better yet, similar thing. My mum's Finnish, you know, my Finnish is not all that great, all that kind of thing. Same situation. I know without a fact, if it was my mom's birthday or Christmas or something, and she opens it up, and it's just a little card that says, surprise, I've spent the last 3 years learning to speak the language. Now I'm fluent. You were hiding it because it was a surprise. It was a birthday gift. My mom would be like, that's awesome. It'd be a little bit confusing, but like, whoa, you did that for me? Yes, just for you. Actually, not a bad idea. Now I'm kind of giving myself Christmas present ideas for like, what, 2027? I think I could brush up in a couple years. Wait, that's like probably. I think I could get there. I could get there by 2027 December if I've really tried. And that way, you don't have to worry about like, oh, does that mean you understood everything? They don't know. They don't know at what point you were at what skill. You just are where you are now. You don't have to explain it. You're like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I guess when we went to Sweden, I understood little parts of it, but I didn't want to tell you because I wanted it to be a surprise. Just say it was a surprise. Whoops. Diabolical based. If anything, it's diabolical. It's like, I don't understand. I don't get the big deal. This is something I couldn't even confess to my therapist. I was the kid in gym class who used too much Axe body spray. Oh no, that's all you needed to say. I'm really sorry to all the people who I've harmed. I just wish I could tell them back then I was going through an identity crisis and I didn't realize that identity was being an outright douchebag. I feel awful about it, and if you were affected by me, I can't tell you how sorry I am. Even worse, I used to buy the green one. Africa? You were buying Lynx Africa? I'm gonna double back on you here. You might think it was a confession. You were not, 100% confirmed, you were not the only person using too much Axe body spray. Your life experience is not so unique that you were the one person using too much Axe body spray. You wouldn't have even been the one out of like 2 random people in your class. Sure, it's diabolical, but it would have been like 90% of the other dudes in your class. And what even is the appropriate amount? That stuff smells so strong. Any amount is already too much. In which case, I was there with you. I was there. I was that kid as well, using too much because I was using some of it. And I'll admit, sometimes it was the green one. Usually it was the blue one. It was one called Click. And I felt like that was my identity. I was a Lynx Click kid. In Australia, it's called Lynx. And not even kidding, I still have it in the back of my thing. And I'll grab it. I've got these things that like at some point I stopped using it and I still had some in a can. And then every time I would like smell it, I'd be like, whoa, it's like time travel. It like takes you back in time and you're like, whoa. And you just start having all these memories from back when you're in like high school. So I keep it around as like a time capsule. Look, there's proof. There's proof. You were not the only one. I didn't think I was using too much, but again, nobody does. Nobody thinks they're using too much. So this one actually would have been, I could probably calculate this based on the year I was in school. I think I was using this one, 2009. This one's from 2009. There's a little bit left. There's like this much left. Yes, I have moved several times and I still keep it with me. This one was from like 2011. And you can probably backdate that to prove that it's true because it says on it new. So Lynx Excite, this one's called Excite. I swapped to this one when it came out a couple years later. That's still got about this much in it too. You were born in 2009? Why does your username say 98? Why does he have duplicates? That's not duplicates. 2 different scents. Don't ask questions. I don't know. Is this, you guys are making me feel like this is more of a confession than a lot of the confessions we've read. Now that I'm saying it out loud and reflecting, I'm feeling like I could see it. The Reddit post, r/confession. I still have my Axe body spray from like 15 years ago. Nah, Loki, if you never wore Axe, you probably didn't wear deodorant, so that's worse. That's what I'm saying. Although, technically not. It'd be Lynx, but same thing. Or at least of the generation. I don't know. Do people wear it these days? Do kids still wear it? Is it still cool with the kids? Too much deodorant is worse than no deodorant. I don't know. I think that's probably a hot debate. I think you're probably going to get a few people on either side of that argument. All right. Anyway, moving on from my confession. I feel like this is the second time I've confessed something in this video. No, but no deodorant is okay if you actually shower. Yeah, but you have to think about the target demographic for Axe. The actual kids using it are at the perfect age. Does not matter how much you shower. You're gonna be sweaty. You're gonna be stinky. I know. I was that age. Yeah, this is Australia. You don't just stop smelling by showering. How often are you showering? Every hour? Next one. Let's move along. That one didn't win anything. That one, for me, nah. My best friend is about to become a therapist and he's going to be bad at it. I have a friend who's been in school for psychology and is about to start his internship to become a counselor. He's a recovering drug addict who's going to be working in the field helping addicts. I've been super supportive of him through this, but deep down, I know he's going to be horrible at it. He's one of the most snap to judgment people I've ever met. Zero outside perspective other than his own and suffers from some serious cognitive dissonance, as well as being super entitled. I don't think he's a bad person, obviously, or he wouldn't be friends. But realistically speaking, I feel like he's going to end up being more harmful than helpful to the people he's meant to help. It's been bothering me, probably more than it should, that people seeking help at their very lowest point in life are going to be stuck having him as a counselor. I'm not going to say any of this to him for obvious reasons, one of which is it's not really my place or my business, but it's been bothering me, so I just wanted to say it, which is why I made the post. I mean, if you think about it, what is it? It's a degree. Like you can just get qualified, right? Surely not everyone qualified is actually going to be the best fit. It's bound to happen. It's a flaw in the system. A degree is not a license. My uncle has a degree, but is not licensed. What does that mean? I'm just saying, in order to be qualified, do you genuinely have to sit like a personality test? Do you have to sit down with like the Myers-Briggs or something? Get your friends to write him reviews before you can be qualified to help people, counsel them? Is this really a confession though? Again, it's one of these like secondhand confessions. I guess I don't know. It's kind of a confession. I guess the point is they can't say that to the friend So they need somewhere else to say it. You need a license to practice. Without a license, your degree means nothing. That's not my question. I get that. I'm saying it like, how do you get the license? Is there a judge of character? Like, how are they gonna ask your friends, hey, do you think they're fit for the job before you get the license? I suppose the confession is, I think my friend is gonna be a bad therapist. Well, that is the title. So I would agree. This is a good point. Sometimes therapists who are really bad have clients who don't come back. The people vote with their feet. I think that's true. I think in general, if you're really bad at it, you're not gonna have much long-term business. Might create a little bit more of a bumpy ride for people trying to enter therapy. Find someone, you know, they go to you and then they find out that actually, I think you're not the right fit and they're gonna have to go find someone else, but there's probably an in-person test with another therapist, but I don't know. Seems like we got a bit of a circular, could be a bit of a circular issue there. To get a license to practice as a therapist in Pennsylvania, you need to earn a master's or a doctoral degree in counseling or related field for an accredited program. Sure, that's what I'm saying. Doesn't seem like anywhere along that process, the requirement is ask your mate who's gonna post about you on Reddit, does he think you're gonna be a good fit for the job? It's hard to say diabolical or based because it's not so much of a personal confession. So let's move along. We could get something real juicy today. I let a stranger hide in my apartment and I don't know if I regret it. This happened last year and I still don't know if I made the right call. It was around 11 p.m. and I had just gotten home from a late shift. I live in a small apartment in a not so great part of the city, so I'm always a little on edge when walking home. That night felt off. As I was unlocking the door, I noticed a guy standing at the end of the hallway. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there. But something about him made my stomach drop. Was he very tall and slender? I got inside, locked the door, and tried to shake it off. Not even 5 minutes later, someone knocked hard. I froze. It wasn't my neighbor. She texted before coming over. I don't really have friends who drop by unannounced. Then a voice. Please, can I come? Could you just let me in just for a second? It was a woman. Oh. She sounded out of breath, almost panicked. You should have told me this before I did the voice. Please, can you let me in? Just for a second. I looked through the peephole, and there she was, maybe mid-20-ish, wide-eyed, glancing down the hall. She looked like she was being followed. I know, stupid move. But I cracked the door open, just a little, and asked her, what is going on? She whispered, there's a guy. He's been following her since she left the train. She didn't know where else to go from there. That's when I realized. The guy I saw earlier. So far, this doesn't seem like a weird thing to regret, but maybe there's a twist. My heart was racing, but I stepped aside and let her in. I locked the door immediately, turning off the lights, and we just stood there in the dark, listening. A few seconds later, heavy footsteps passed my door. Dang, slow, like someone was looking for something. Well, yeah, that's what she just said. Then, nothing. He flew away. She stayed for about 30 minutes, just sitting on my couch, shaking. I offered her water. And we barely talked. What are you talking about? I am already the star voice actor in the Gacha Life mini movie, something about the gang boss leader. And we barely talked. Eventually, she called a friend to come pick her up. When she left, she just said thank you and disappeared down the hall. I never saw her again. I don't know if she was telling the truth. Maybe she was genuinely in danger. But I think about that night all the time. And I can't decide if I did the right thing or if I got really, really lucky. What? Some woman's been followed by a man after she gets off on the train. You housed her for 30 minutes so that she could get the man off her tail. And you're like, I'm wondering whether I did the right thing. I think about it often. What kind of confession was that? I'm actually confused about what they're even saying. Are they saying they're confused as to whether they did the right thing in that they might have been putting themselves in danger? Or what? Right thing in that you would potentially harboring a fugitive? You know, like what's the confession? What's the question? I think she would have done something bad had she intended to. She didn't though. That's a good point. If it was some kind of setup, she had plenty of chances and much time to do something, but she didn't. Right. I don't know, man. Seems like a pretty open and shut case. Seems like maybe you just helped someone out. Why is he regretting this so much? I'm not sure. I feel like they should have elaborated on what they thought the problem might have been. All right, here we go. It doesn't feel like anything bad happened, so why are you regretting it? She was clearly in danger and needed your help. You provided that. I know it was a risky call, but you made the right one. This is, all right, OP says, I think it's just the what ifs that get to me. What if it had been a setup? What if the guy outside had tried to force his way in? I don't regret helping her, but I do wonder how differently things could have gone. It's just one of those situations that sticks with you, you know? Okay, but you got the answer. you did get the answer. Call it intuition, chalk it up to something, but you made the right call. So, I don't know, I feel like that's it. I mean, I'm not gonna call it diabolical or based. I think that the focus for this one is something else entirely, but that means today we didn't manage to top the leaders. So we'll have to come back tomorrow and try again. Day 6, the second last day of the confessions. Let's see if we can dislodge any of the front runners. I regret getting my master's degree. It was a waste of time. In December, I finished my master's degree from a top 5 university. Top 5 where? Top 5 in the world? Got a 3.9 GPA with the Dean's Award. 2 weeks ago, I got the email that I've officially been issued my degree, okay? It wasn't worth it. I spent 2 years crying and stressing over a piece of paper. I strained my relationship because of the stress. We're fine, but it still wasn't fun. I'm not even changing my job because of the degree. The only reason I got it was because my job was paying for it, and I thought it would be cool to have a secondary degree, but it wasn't worth it. Now I've got a stupid piece of paper that says I completed some classes and wrote a 50-page paper. I wish I could go back and never start. That's it. That's the story. That's the whole thing. I want to see if I'm understanding this story correctly. We have someone who said, I don't need a degree, but I went and got one anyway, and in hindsight, waste of time. I had no purpose to get this thing that takes years and a whole lot of effort to get. I have just discovered that spending years and a whole lot of effort to get something that I don't need feels like a waste of time. I just feel like this could have been obvious. This should have been obvious. You had no need to get it. You're not going to change jobs anyway, but you decided, why not? Just imagine if you had done all that and had the debt to go with it. At least you're done. I'm sure having it will come in handy someday. Yeah, like, come on. You don't want to complain about your lack of debt. Yeah, no debt. Just felt like a bit of a waste of time. Anyway, that sucked. Okay, great. Yeah, nice. So you succeeded getting a master's degree on time with a high GPA. Your job paid for it, your relationship survived, and it's over and done. You now have something that proves higher education and more dedication than most can prove. What is the confession exactly? Count your blessings. Many people try for what you accomplish and never make it. Look for a different perspective. The guy is exhausted. I don't blame him for feeling a certain way still, especially since he never felt a sense of accomplishment in the first place. Give him a bit of a break. I just think it might feel a little bit rich. Maybe this is why it feels like a bit of a confession, is because it's something that so many people would love to have, a good qualification that they didn't have to pay for. But then he's like, I don't know, I'm sorry, I just felt like I wasted my time. Does kind of feel like something that you could have realized throughout the process. Feels kind of wild, actually, to finish an entire master's degree and then come to the realization that maybe you wasted your time. I feel like you just would have had so many chances along the way to make that decision. I don't know. I feel like this one's kind of diabolical. It just feels like bizarre. I don't think it's better than Snap's pregnancy, though. I lied about being colorblind to everybody I know. This Logan Paul's alt account. I, 21, lied about being colorblind. It began in elementary, where I told all my friends and began hinting towards my parents. I began doing extensive research on certain types of colorblindness in elementary school and their commonness. I chose the most common type of red-green colorblind type. Extensive research? I mean, I feel like that's the kind of info you could find in a quick Google search, but I learned exactly how they saw and began to even be able to picture what each shade would look like in colorblind vision. You just imagine that you can't see the color. I mean, as I grew old enough to realize these lies weren't exactly okay, I had already had everyone around my finger. What, your colorblind little finger? I was too deep into this lie. Soon after, I was gifted colorblind glasses by my family. As the years went by, I found an amazing boyfriend who I've been with for 3 years now, and we're planning to marry soon. He and his family believes I am colorblind. Everyone in my life believes I am colorblind. I cannot tell a single soul. Nobody knows. Why? Why are you in this position? What decisions led you to this? You know what? Just say you grew out of it. I got better. That would be the... That's the move. I don't know. It just feels... This one feels a little bit rich. I'm not sure how much I believe it, but then again, why not? I guess it's not that hard to believe that someone out there might lie about their colorblindness for their entire life. I just think it would come up. It would just come up accidentally. There's too many chances for you to realize a color and people be like, wait, hold on. I feel like you're not supposed to be able to see that color. And you're like, oh, right. Oh, sorry. Oops. Actually, I'm colorblind. Whoops, I didn't see it. There's too many chances in life for you to see a color and express it, for it to not have happened around someone else. So further down, they say, wish it could just come back with tons of research. There's not really a permanent way to return color vision. Guess I'm taking it to the grave, haha. But yeah, I think it just originally started as a way to get attention in elementary. Then I was too embarrassed to admit it was a lie. The next thing I knew, I was too deep into the lie. Does it actually matter? Chalk it up to skill. Say, look, they look like the same kind of color, but I've started to realize that this green is actually kind of different to this green, and so I'm pretty sure that one's red, so from now on, I'm just gonna call that one red, and then move on. That's the solution. I don't know. I'm moving on. Childhood friend doesn't know my son is named after him, and I've been avoiding telling him. So I grew up in a terrible home, and one of the only people who I actually looked up to, who treated me nicely, was the older boy next door, who would watch me when my parents were busy. A lot of my better childhood memories come from spending time at his house. He introduced me to a lot of music, movies, games that shaped my taste and gave me my current hobbies. And I remember him very fondly. My dad got a job in the city when I was 12. We left my hometown, and I haven't seen him since. 6 years later, I left home and had a child. I didn't originally mean to name my son after anyone I know personally, but when I was coming up with potential baby names, I remembered that friend, how much I'd liked him, and thought his name was a good one for a boy. It ended up being the only name I liked that my son's mum also approved of. So he now shares a name with my old babysitter. Fast forward another 12 years to present. I get a friend request from that friend on Facebook. We're still in the same country, and he mostly works from home, but comes to my city every now and then. He offered to get some lunch sometime and catch up, and I don't know how I'm supposed to tell him I have a pre-team named after him without it sounding weird. Like, how would you react if some child you looked after when you were a teenager and who you have not spoken to in over 18 years grew up and named their son after you? I think made it worse by avoiding the topic altogether over text. I've only called my son by his nickname when talking about him, and I don't know if it sounds kind of like I lied to him or hid it from him if I tell him now at this point. I thought I had finally become a secure, normal adult who can manage my anxiety, but here I am now, stressing. God help me. Honestly, it doesn't seem like that much of a problem. If I'm understanding this right, you haven't met with him yet. Of course. That is not something you need to tell him over text message before you even see him. Absolutely. That is something that you would tell someone when you catch up with them at lunch. Hey, I gotta tell you, you had such a big impact on me growing up. My son's name, Kenneth, he's named after you. Just tell him. Just tell him. Especially if you haven't seen him in person yet and he doesn't know the kid's name. Perfect time. Perfect timing. There is not a better time to tell him. That is the time that you tell him. Surely there's an update in the comments after everyone's like, yeah, just tell him. I want you to know that I named my child after you because you had a profound impact on me growing up. Yeah, it's how are you supposed to tell anyone that you named your child after them? I would be insanely flattered. I can't think of a better way to make someone's day. Exactly. It's not a weird thing to hear. If he knew what your family was like, he might understand that he was the only male caregiver that you had to look up to. I think he'd be honored. Oh, he definitely knew. I'm not sure of this, but I have a feeling that's part of why he reached out to begin with. There's nothing weird about it. There's no confession. There's no confession. It's not a confession. It's just a thing. It's just a thing that you would say. A nice thing. You don't need to confess. You just need to say it. I'm moving on. She had no one under 6 foot in her bio. I've been 6 foot for 3 months and she has no idea. Look, I'm 5'10". Not short, but not 6 feet, which for some reason seems to be the magic number on every dating profile. I swiped right on this woman who literally had don't even bother if you're under 6 foot at the top of her bio. First of all, mate, I just don't know why, if you're under 6 foot, why you would want to swipe on someone who is gonna say that. Like, what are you doing to yourself? I almost left it, but then I thought, how hard could it be to stretch 2 inches? Dude, no, have some self-respect. You don't need to stretch. Don't stretch yourself for someone else, okay? Even if it's just 2 inches. She don't want you. She don't need you. You don't need her. So I committed. Every morning I hang upside down for 15 minutes like I'm trying to be Batman. Okay, look, I'm not much of a Batman fan, but I'm not sure if that's something that he actually does. I think you're just thinking of regular bats. I only meet her in the morning or early afternoon before gravity has time to ruin me. I'm so struggling to believe this. On top of that, I wear lifts that give me another inch. At this point, I'm practically on stilts, but I hit the 6 foot mark. We've been dating for 3 months now. She still brings up how glad she is to finally meet someone tall. That's such a strange... I just nod and pray she never catches me without shoes on. There is no way. There is just no shot that this is real. Is this sustainable? Probably not, but I'll cross that bridge when I can comfortably do it at 5'10". First of all, I do not believe that hanging upside down for 15 minutes makes you an inch taller. I just cannot believe that. Does hanging upside down make you taller? Transitioning from Reddit to get my information. If you hang upside down for 2 hours every day, would you get taller? No. Your height comes from your bones. Yeah, I guess your spine would stretch maybe a little bit. Maybe a bit, but not in a good way. It'd be from the weight of your body pulling your vertebrae or joints looser. Not sure if it's possible from hanging upside down or whether it requires pulling. Either way, I don't believe it. This is hilarious. Honestly, I think we have to take almost all of these at face value. It's not so much about whether it's true or not. Honestly, I feel like this one is diabolical, and not just slightly. I feel like if we're gonna take this one at face value, imagine having a con going on for 3 months that you're 2 inches taller than you actually are, and she's constantly reminding you how lucky she is. You're hanging upside down for 15 minutes? You can't take your shoes off around this lady. Just read through OP's post history. They have 3 different names and have been both genders. The only thing that has stayed consistent is New York City. Either this is creative writing or karma farming. All right, got away with it. Nah, snatched from the clutches of a win for the diabolicals. That was this close. I was gonna give it, but I don't think I can in good faith. It was going to take the lead, but with enough evidence to prove it false. Next post. I let a homeless person crash in my dad's shed when I was 6. So when I was 6, my cousin Jay, sick name, was 14. We were bored of the usual backyard and indoor activities and wanted to explore, but not go anywhere too far. So we decided to go look around my dad's shed. He used to always be in there fixing something. But at this point in the story, it had been about 2 years since he's gone in there. What does that even mean? What does that mean? He used to always be in there. Okay, this point in the story, he hadn't visited his shed in 2 years. For a good hour or two, we were exploring and playing and tinkering with whatever we could find. We found a homeless man that was maybe 30 or 40 something, very important details, sleeping in one of Dad's very old cars. I was a little scared and clung to my cousin, but he just nudged him awake and attempted to make conversation. His name was Clement, and he was actually very friendly. Just stand-up bloke. Call my cousin stupid for not telling my dad, but he's had friends and their relatives become homeless, and he was sympathetic, so he chose not to say a word to my dad. A little messed up because my cousin was just staying there for a few weeks, and then he was gone. I stayed, though, and went into the shed every few days to color while talking to Clement. He didn't scare me. All he did was sit there in the car and talk to me and tell me stories. I was just a kid and maybe too scared to get caught, so I never got food for him from the house. How on earth he was being fed? I don't know. Was his name Shogun? Little manga reference. This went on for about 5 or 6 months. Then one day, I went into the shed and he wasn't there anymore. I cried. I was so upset. I never told my dad, so I couldn't just make the story up now. And my cousin was in another state. I felt so alone. I missed him. I was worried for him. I think this was the earliest in my life I truly worried about someone like that. Saw a post earlier about someone doing something similar, and it reminded me of this experience. TLDR, my cousin and I decided not to tell my dad about a homeless man living in his shed. I don't know, kind of based. I'm kind of here for this one. This one? Honestly, the cheating test thing seems kind of mild in comparison. This one, I mean, sure, it could have gone poorly, but it didn't. So I think this one does it. I'm gonna do it. Homeless shed man takes the lead. Let's come back tomorrow for the final day and see if there's any confessions that can dethrone the current champs. It is day 7. It is the final day of the confessions, looking for the most diabolical and the most based confessions on Reddit. We have a friend, a channel, Matthew. They decided it was too important to leave it up to just me. We need a second opinion. So, first out, a payroll glitch that allowed vastly overpaid...
That's written so, Paul.
It's not just me.
No.
A payroll glitch that allowed vastly overpaid paid me for months.
You read it correctly.
Okay. This happened years ago and I've never told anyone. I think it's been long enough that they can't ask for the money back, but I still get nervous. I was making about $26 an hour. During our shift, we would clock in and out of jobs as we started and completed them. Each job was for a different company. I worked at a fabrication shop. Certain jobs had tasks that would pay close to $70 an hour. The company was pretty stingy on handing those tasks out. I would average 5 to 10 hours of my 40-hour work week, making $70 an hour. One day they had their tech guy come in and change some things with the computers, where we would clock in and clock out of our daily jobs. Nothing on my end changed. Clock in and out of jobs per usual. I noticed my next paycheck was significantly higher and had about 20 hours of 70-hour work. I figured I didn't realize some of the tasks I was doing were at the $70 an hour rate and felt pretty lucky. Next week, I had about 25 hours of $70 an hour. I felt lucky, but suspected something was off. Third week, I mentally tracked all the tasks I did that were considered $70 an hour and was at about 10 hours for the week. Nope, another 22 hours at $70 an hour. I definitely knew something was off at that point, but kept my mouth shut. Another guy mentioned something about his paycheck being bigger and we silently agreed it was better to not say anything. This went on for months. At a certain point, the office people asked a couple questions about how we were clocking into jobs, but didn't ever say anything about our hours. IT was at our computers a couple times during this time frame, and after 4 to 5 months, they must have fixed the error. I'm not sure how much extra money I ended up with, but I know it was a lot more than I should have. I kept all the extra in savings in case they came back and said they overpaid me and needed the money back. COVID hit.
I assume that's supposed to say or work.
Something slowed real bad, and they laid most of our department off. I ended up getting a job with another shop when work picked back up. Do I feel guilty? Not really. This company was super shady in a lot of ways and never treated employees well. Should I have said something? I don't know. Maybe. TLDR. Glitch in payroll led me to being paid almost twice as much as usual for about 5 months. Diabolical or based?
Based. Based. There's nothing diabolical about this.
I've said before, because we've had a couple that are kind of like this, and I've said, I feel like it kind of comes down to what the company is.
Well, if it's like a mum and pop shop,
yeah,
you feel a bit...
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's he makes it sound like they're bad, maybe to justify it, but...
Surely it's only a big old corporation that can manage to lose track of paying someone $70 an hour for like 5 to 6 months.
You'd be surprised.
Maybe I would be.
I've known some business owners that are not good with money. But it's on the company, maybe. He probably should speak up, but he didn't spend the money.
Yeah.
He's probably still holding on to it.
Yeah, I reckon...
Just get the interest.
Yeah. I reckon you just sort of, you don't say anything.
Yeah.
And then you see how you go. I'm not going to say it's more based than the homeless man.
No. It's just based.
You want to do some reading?
I'll give it a go. I am a compulsive liar and have been my whole life. I'm a compulsive liar. I never lie about big things, but always the little things, like what I ate for breakfast or what I did that day, or I'll add extra details to a story to make them sound better. I don't know why I do this, and I have tried to stop, but I can't. I'm 22 now, and I have been doing this for as long as I can remember. Even when I'm called out for my lies, I'll double down and lie some more. Lots of people think I'm a bad liar, because I am a bad liar when it comes to bigger stuff, and I feel too bad lying to people. But I lie to people all the time, and they have no idea. And I'm actually really good at the little lies. I just want to add, a lot of y'all seem to think that I'm not aware that it's wrong, and they're using filler words in text. I want to add, a lot of you all seem to think that I'm not aware that this is wrong, and I want to be this way. I'm aware and I'm trying to get better, which is part of the reason I made this post, to start admitting I have a problem and going from there. Also, everyone's saying get therapy. I ain't got no therapy money, so unless you want to pay for my sessions, give me better advice. Cop out.
I'm very glad to know that it's not just me, because people in my chat are always asking me if I'm dyslexic. And it's like, no, it's just...
Reading's hard.
Yeah, reading out loud, and then when you're going through different posts, they're all by different people, written in different ways. Yeah. And your brain can't keep up.
Yeah, the only times I've read aloud in my life are like...
At school, when you get it. Yeah.
And that's all textbook. It's all the same vernacular. Or plays or something.
Yeah.
It's all a very specific type, but you're dealing with people that can't write on Reddit.
This is diabolical.
Yeah, but...
It's not based.
No. I feel like Diabolical implies like effort. I don't know. It just feels
You feel
rude.
like saying it's diabolical is giving him too much credit.
Yeah, I think he's just a bad person.
Like diabolical, you're like, you need to have some like, you know, motivation behind it. Yeah, you're
Some revenge or something. This is just, I like, get over it.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't get the lying thing. I didn't get people that do that.
I did it when I was a child for attention. Yeah, I don't know this post isn't a
We
lie.
know this post isn't a lie. My niece is like this. I promise you, people know when you're lying about little things too. Yeah, we just don't call you on it because the big things are so much worse.
Yeah.
And if we called you on the little things as well, it would be the only thing anyone talked about. And we're flipping tired. Please seek help. Everyone knows you're unwell and we care, but only if you can help yourself. We can't make you get better. It's so obvious when people are lying.
Yeah.
Especially if you lie on the big things and everyone knows about the big things, then we just assume that anything you say is not true.
Yeah. I feel like it's pretty common with kids as well.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. The most... There's one bit of hair.
Do I rip it out?
The most diabolical thing about it is that I'm now 22.
Yeah.
Because it's such a common thing for kids and even teenagers to do. But to be an adult and be like, I'm not slowing down.
Yeah. I feel like post 20.
Yeah.
It's like maybe 18, maybe 19. It's like, okay, you're learning, but
You gotta start pulling it back.
yeah, if you're pushing through out of the teens,
He doesn't win.
no, it's just bad person.
High school stunt that I'll never forget, even in afterlife.
I'm just looking at that third word.
Back in Elektrotechnik. I feel like it's like it looks German or something.
Or like Slavic.
Electrotechnic school. At 17, I pulled off a legendary stunt. I hacked the school's bell system using a hidden switch, letting me ring it whenever I wanted. That is sick. My friends and I triggered it 15 minutes early during boring classes, causing total chaos. Teachers were confused, students were thrilled, and for 3 days we ruled the schedule. But on the 4th day, a technician found my wiring. The principal threatened expulsion, but I never got caught. Honestly, I laugh so hard every time I tell this story. A bit embarrassing, but still funny. By the way, sorry for possible bad English. That's based.
That's based. I think fake post, but based.
I reckon it's true. I believe it.
I just don't reckon the school would be in chaos for 3 days. I reckon they'd just be like, nah, don't listen to the bells.
It
We'll tell you
depends.
when to-"
It depends how greedy they got with it. Like if you're doing it like 5 minutes early, you could get away with it.
True. I guess if you're doing it, maybe not every class.
Yeah.
Like once a day, maybe. That's based.
I think it's based. I think I've been on record before on this channel countless times saying real life rules don't really apply in school, and it's like this weird like testing ground for like what you are and aren't allowed to do.
Oh yeah.
And so I feel like you're within your right to kind of test things like that. Very inconsequential things.
Yeah, no one gets hurt doing it.
I feel like that's based.
Yeah.
It's not more based than housing a homeless man in
No.
your shed as a kid.
Let's go base.
But I like that.
Yeah.
That's sick.
I want it to be real.
If
do.
I had the capability to do that at 17, I'd be proud of myself for having done it. I can't believe they would threaten expulsion. That seems dramatic.
Yeah. And it's also, if they don't know who it is, they're not going to come forward.
Yeah. Come forward. We want to expel you.
Yeah. Usually schools do oh, guys, don't worry. We just want to find out what happened. You won't get any punishment. I was tipsy visiting in New Orleans before a carnival cruise. And long story short, I was tipsy walking up Bourbon Street around 2 a.m. or so, appropriate. I was hungry and bought a slice of pizza right before the place closed. I convinced the cashier to give me an extra slice of pizza for free since they were about to close and just throw all the food out anyway. So I have 2 big slices of pizza now and I'm feeling good. I turn the corner to start walking back to hotel and bam!
Bam!
The paper plate gives out and both slices fall face first, cheese first. On the ground.
Damn.
I'm in disbelief. Everything's now closed, and it really has a taste for pizza.
That's like a
Cat has cheese.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cat memes.
I picked those pizza slices off the ground on Bourbon Street and ate them. If you know about Bourbon Street and how sanitary it is or isn't, then you know. I just had to get that off my chest. I wasn't super busy on the street either since it was so late, but I know somebody had to have witnessed my nasty behavior. SMH. This is based. I would do this. I think I'd do it sober as well if I was hungry enough.
I think I would draw the line at cheese first on the ground.
Pick it off.
I think if it was crust to ground, then if I was really desperate, I think I could get past it. I'm just talking for me personally.
Fair.
It doesn't bother me if someone else, you do you, boo. I don't care if you eating pizza off the ground. I mean, I've eaten, okay.
I've eaten plenty of food off the ground.
Yeah, I got sick once from eating some McDonald's fries off some steps.
You're no better than OK.
They were my fries. They weren't
Yeah,
random.
they were their pizzas.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It wasn't like, they weren't cheesy fries. They were
True.
just dry fries. So I feel like that's where I draw the line. And have. That's where I have in the past.
I don't know. I feel like if I'm in New Orleans and I'm watching this happen, I'm saluting them. I'm not judging them.
Yeah,
Get your pizza.
it's fair.
Yeah, especially when you're drunk.
Especially because you can imagine too, walking out with like you got the groove in your step with the plate, and
Yeah,
then
you've been dancing for 3 hours. You've had a great time. You're sweaty. You've worked up an appetite. All you want is your pizza and your free slice.
Yeah.
Everything's better when it's free. I'm not convinced that the paper plate just gave way though.
Yeah.
I reckon they were a bit wobbly,
Yeah.
which is fair.
Yeah, it turns out it's not the tidiest street.
Look, maybe I wouldn't do this.
I guess we don't know what the street looks like. We're
No.
not familiar.
I think based, but nowhere near as based as homeless. This one's already based.
I moved the towels people use in hotels to reserve the chairs by the pool.
Yeah, people go out in like the morning and they chuck towels on the poolside chairs to reserve them.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I can't deal with it. It's annoying when people try to reserve a spot. I know a few hotels also do this. If they don't, I do. I will watch them go out at 6, place their towels, and then be gone till 11 something. At roughly 7, I go for my swim and collect all the towels, fold them and stack them on one chair. It's glorious to watch them squabble over the towels when they finally trickle in around 11, 12, and the one reserved spot, because by the time they all arrive, all the chairs are taken by people that are actually swimming right now. I admit, I felt a bit bad at times, and sometimes fight to break out, and I feel like I might be ruining people's holiday. Usually by the 3rd day, less people try to reserve a spot or actually come earlier. Edit. Because a bunch of people mentioned that it's a rather European, specifically German thing, to reserve stuff with towels. Funny thing is, I am German.
Based.
That's based.
Yeah.
I get it if it's like, if you're reserving your towel and then you just go into like, I don't know, fill up your water bottle
Yeah,
or
grab a
something like
coffee or
that.
something.
But if people are rocking a reservation for hours, I don't even think it's unreasonable. Like, you could move that towel if there is no one else around. You're gonna be like, oh, someone left their towel.
Yeah, and like usually if someone's there, they've got like a bag there on the chair as well. Like they've got stuff, not just a towel. You can tell when it's a real reservation.
Oh yeah, like obviously if you're swimming, you're taking a dip and then someone moves your towel and sits in your spot.
you're like,
It's a little bit. If it's a proper reservation, that's just based. It's so like obvious that it feels kind of mild. Like calling it based is like, it's just like, well, yeah.
I mean, like they said, hotels employ people to do this.
Yeah.
They monitor it and they move towels that aren't of people actively swimming. Having fights break out is nutty.
Serious business.
This person's an anarchist. I'll just rip it out. I'll just bite it. I moved out of my apartment and lived in my office for 2 years to save money. My office is in a federal building, making matters a little more complicated. I paid down my debt during that time and saved up enough for a down payment on my house. Good times. Based.
Based. It's just straight.
Yeah.
Simple.
You had a scheme, you got away with it, and it saved you a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Based.
Nothing more to say
Yep.
about it. I'm lying to everyone I've ever known and ever will meet. When I was in elementary school, I rode the bus to and from school. One day on the bus, I farted while sitting next to my friends. I was at the age where we believed that if it's your fart, you can't smell it. And this fart that I just unleashed upon my friends was not something I could smell, but they were able to smell it and it smelled bad. When my friends accused me of being the one who farted, I said the reason I couldn't smell it was because I didn't have a sense of smell because my nose was crooked. This was true, my nose was crooked, and I had a deviated septum that I eventually got fixed, but I did still have my sense of smell. Ever since that day, I have told every single person I've ever met that I don't have a sense of smell. When I got my first job, one of my coworkers became obsessed with trying to prove me wrong and even said it was impossible. Whoa. Give us a line break.
Yeah.
After some research, I found that there is a condition called anosmia, where someone can partially or completely lose smell. Since then, I've always claimed to have this condition, and because no one can prove it's false, I'm able to get away with it. I always do my absolute best to never react to smells, and I've gotten very good at it. I'm still able to smell everything perfectly, and I really enjoy some smells, but I never talk about smells, and I never try to smell something more than once, so I don't make it obvious. I don't know why I ever started this lie, or why I even keep it going. But I feel that at this point, I'm too deep and I can't turn back now. My entire family believes this lie, and my mum brings it up almost bi-weekly. My best friend, who was the one on bus with me at the time, also still believes this lie and sees it as part of who I am. It has been nearly 15 years, and I have still not told a single person the truth.
Once again, reading is hard. What do you reckon, diabolical or based?
It's just one of these ones. It's like, I just don't really get it. I don't really understand why people commit to these lies. We've read quite a few of these ones where people commit to like lies and they feel like they can't tell anyone.
This one feels more like a hobby.
They get a bit of a kick out of it.
Yeah, and they're like practicing not reacting to smells and stuff. It's not diabolical or based, it's just why.
Yeah, it's just a bit confusing.
If I had an adult child that said, I've got something to tell you, I've been lying to you, and they come out with this, I'd just say, why?
Oh,
why'd you do this? Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, now you just have to keep it going. You can't risk those kids on the bus finding out that you were the one that farted. That's why. That's the answer.
Living in fear.
All for one fart, it does feel kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Can kids actually commit that hard to a lie?
Yeah, I reckon.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon.
All right, let's do one more. Let's see if there is the chance. We've got a shorty. The finale.
All right. In 7th grade, my Spanish teacher used popsicle sticks in a cup with our names on it to call on kids. I took the popsicle stick with my name on it. I was never the best student, and I always struggle with foreign languages and paying attention. My 7th grade Spanish teacher would write students' names on popsicle sticks and then draw one randomly to ask questions. Earlier in the school year, I went to the teacher's desk to sharpen my pencil, saw the stick with my name on it, and deposited the stick into my pocket for later discarding. Never again got surprised while daydreaming by the teacher, randomly calling my name to answer a question.
That's based.
That's based.
Yeah.
That's a well-executed heist.
Yeah.
No consequence. Never got found out. Teacher should have checked their popsicle sticks.
Yeah, that's just a good move.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I don't think anything's dethroned.
Yeah, anticlimactic end.
Yeah.
That was it. We got nothing today.
Yeah.
That was that, though. That was a full week of Reddit confessions. So now you know the most diabolical and the most based. I don't know what you're going to do with that information, but I hope you had fun. And I'll see you in this next video that's going to pop up on the screen.
There? Is it there?
It'll be there'll be an end card, so we won't even be on the screen.
Damn it.